And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Thursday, January 23rd. I am Josh Engleman, here to break down an 8-game NBA slate. Plus, we do have a 2 o'clock game in Paris, right? I think it's Paris. I believe it's Paris. It seems like it should be Paris. France? Definitely France. That's all that matters. Anyway, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. What's good, everybody? Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. I don't even know what the thumbnail is. Do I need to look at this? Yeah, that's good. That is good. Oh, man, we got a lot to talk about today. Weird slate. Value in places that we don't normally play. Value in places we don't normally want to play. We'll have some fun, though. Yesterday stunk. I had every point guard that wasn't SGA. SGA then proceeded to hit his career high in points after a pretty uneventful first quarter, too. Killed me. So I was dead in the water by being light on SGA. I figured having Garland and Trey and LaMelo and I'm missing another one. Oh, Ja Morant. Nope. Shea just went out there and beat them all. Highest scorer on the slate. So now we're here. Now it's Thursday. And now we break this slate down. So let's dive into it. Like I said, 8 games. Here we go. Portland Trailblazers. 8.5 point dogs in Orlando. 212 total. This is a tricky one. We've got a Q tag on DeAndre Ayton, a Q tag on Toumani Camara, a Q tag on Chris Murray, and a Q tag on Anthony Simons. That's not easy to deal with to start the day. We are in no position to dig into Portland based on these Q tags. Like, if Ayton is out, then we probably like Time Lord. If Simons is out, then we probably like everybody more. If Kamara is out, we like Denny more. If Chris Murray is out, we probably don't care. But we don't know. There's 101 minutes currently questionable for the Portland Trailblazers. I don't know what we do with that information right now. Not to mention, they are 8.5 point dogs. This is the lowest total on the slate. It's the second lowest pace. And Portland loses 2.8 possessions below their average. Everything here is a negative. But if everybody ends up out off of these Q tags, then we're probably going to create some value here for the Portland Trailblazers. Ultimately, there's nothing we could do right now. So we move on to the Orlando side, where there's very little we could do right now. And then we look at Orlando. We've got a Q tag on Cole Anthony. He missed their most recent game. Goga is still doubtful. Gary Harris is questionable. Jet Howard is questionable. John Isaac is questionable. And Franz Wagner is questionable for this one, potentially making his return today. That's a lot of questionable guys. That's 87 minutes that I have projected as questionable for this matchup. We are getting 20% ownership already into Paolo Banchero. 8,400 power forward only. I have him 10% optimal, 24% boom. I think Paolo Banchero looks pretty good here. I don't think that ownership is crazy, but it might look even better depending on how these injuries go. I doubt we're paying attention to Franz at any point, no matter what. He's 8,300. That is way too expensive for him getting ramped up like we expect him to. But, like, does Cole Anthony play? I don't know. If he doesn't, then we probably look at Anthony Black. Does John Isaac play? I don't know. But if we do, if he doesn't, like, Tristan da Silva probably looks a little bit better. So we need this injury news. Game number 1 basically impossible to talk about so far. Great start. Great start. So let's go to game number 2. This one I like quite a bit. The Toronto Raptors, 5-point dogs in Atlanta, 234 total. Now, we got to remember, half of this slate is on a back-to-back. We have no injury report right now for the Bucks, the Hawks, the Mavs, the Thunder, the Kings, the Celtics, the Warriors, or the Clippers. So a lot of this is just going to be shoulder shrugs. Toronto, not so much, though. Ochai Agbaji is questionable. Emmanuel Quickley is questionable. Jonathan Mobo is with the G League team. So I've got Agbaji in. But right now, we've got 15% ownership coming into Scotty Barnes, 20 coming into RJ Barrett, 20 coming into Grady Dick, and 25 coming into Jakob Poeltl. This is a massive pace-up spot for Toronto. They gain over 2 possessions. 234 total. Second highest total on the slate. 100.9 pace for this game is the highest by 2 full possessions. And Atlanta is on the back-to-back. So I really like this spot for Toronto. I ran Sims very generically to start the day. That gave me quite a bit of Scotty Barnes, quite a bit of RJ Barrett, quite a bit of Jakob Poeltl, little bit lighter on Grady Dick. But Scotty Barnes, 8,700, point guard, small forward eligible. Somewhere around like a 1.3 to 1.35 fantasy point per minute guy in this spot. Target score 51.5. That feels pretty good to me, man. I don't know about you guys. That feels pretty good. Same for RJ Barrett, 7,700, small forward eligible. Target score of 47. I think he gets there 31% of the time. I mean, basically, 34% boom on Scotty Barnes, 31% boom on Jakob Poeltl, 30 on Jake Puddle. The expectation is that one of those 3 guys is going to be in a potential tournament winning lineup. That's appealing to me. It really is. Not to mention, like, I think Grady Dick's okay. 20% owned is a hair higher than what I would want, but I think he's reasonable. Davion Mitchell can be clicked on. That's for sure. Well, Barnes, Barrett, Poeltl, priorities to me. Over the field on all 3 of them. But Scotty Barnes, I'd imagine Scotty Barnes is pretty close to my highest leverage guy today. Let's find out. Oh, lower than I thought. Am I blind? Is it just because he's already that owned? Yeah, it's just because he's already pulling real ownership. Makes sense. But yeah, give me Scotty Barnes. If I'm ranking them, it's Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, Grady Dick. In order for me. Okay, now on the Atlanta side, basically nothing we could do here. We have no idea who's going to play for Atlanta on the back-to-back. We don't know if we're going to have Trey, Jalen Johnson, DeAndre Hunter, Bogdanovich. But the problem for Jake Puddle in his last game is that he was awful. That was the only problem in that game. He was terrible. They were minus 21 in the first 7 minutes and 50 seconds that he played. Minus 21. Yeah, pretty bad. So for Atlanta, assuming Onyeka Okongwu gets the start, he's currently projected for 20% ownership. Feels a tad high, but 5,600. I think he looks pretty good. I went 27 minutes. He did show up in a decent chunk of my lineups right now. I would argue Atlanta's slightly under-owned, but we have no idea who's playing. We need their injury report. If you get Trae Young out or Jalen Johnson out or DeAndre Hunter out, this could look very, very different. So the only guys that we could really talk about right now, assuming Okongwu and Capella are just in, we know how to project their line or their minutes. I would say two things. One, Clint Capella is going to get to a point where he is not owned properly for being the backup. And then two, Okongwu is going to get some decent ownership. If it's 20%, it's a little high. But he does look good. Second best option on Atlanta behind Trae. But again, the lack of an injury report here makes things difficult. Sometimes when a team doesn't have an injury report, it doesn't really matter. This one matters. This one matters. All right. Here we go. The Miami Heat are a basketball team. They're 7-point underdogs in Milwaukee. 223 total. Miami probably going to be without Jimmy Butler for this one. Suspended once again. Tyler Hero probable. Rashad Johnson is questionable. So at least we've seen what the Miami Heat look like without Jimmy Butler for a suspension. But now we got to talk about that new dude. Kel'el Ware, assuming he's getting the start again alongside Bam. I went pessimistic. I went 30 minutes. He could very easily play more than that. 30 minutes. He is the most optimal Miami Heat player, but he's center only. One of these days, one of him or Bam is going to get that power forward eligibility and really change what they look like. But for right now, they're both center only. Ware projected for about 15% ownership. I got 23% of him on my first run. Looks like a really solid play. But center only is pretty annoying. One of those guys has to be playing power forward. Pretty confident in it. Will this game be played? Donnie, why wouldn't it be played? Apparently, Bam does not have power forward eligibility. So, Ware is definitely the guy we want the most. But I don't really like anything else here, even with Butler out. Like, I don't think Hero looks all that good at 8,300. Bam's like a 5%er. I guess if Nikola Jovic maintains 28 minutes a night, he's a viable pivot. Jaime Jaquez looks better because Jimmy Butler's not around, but I don't think he looks all that great at 5K. I don't have these guys grading out all that well outside of Kel'el Ware. S&P, really? My drop frame thing says 0. I haven't seen it. From what it says here, I haven't dropped a frame yet. It's getting pretty annoying. I'm sure it's pretty annoying for you guys. I think it's probably more annoying for me, but gotta be pretty annoying for you guys. Everything on here for me is perfect. I'm gonna have to go back to StreamYard, I think. Weird. Yeah, I don't have anything on my end that tells me it's not ideal. Give me a second. Okay. Well, let's get back to it. John, I have the highest internet I could get. If I could get anything higher, I would get it. Oh. So yeah, ultimately, I don't like Miami all that much. But Khalil Ware is the guy you want the most. And I don't even think that's particularly close. Now, on the Milwaukee side, obviously, we don't have an injury report right now, but not because they're on a back-to-back, because they were supposed to be on a back-to-back. 10% ownership coming into Giannis. Nothing to anybody else. We definitely don't know the status of AJ Green right now. I don't think it matters. To me, you're rostering 2.5 guys here. You're rostering Giannis, who I think looks fantastic as a pay-up, 11-7 power forward center eligibility. And then you're rostering Dame, 5 to 10% of him. That's about it. I don't think it looks very good. I really just find this entire matchup unappealing. Four percent optimal rate to Middleton, 4% optimal rate to Gary Trent, 4% optimal rate to Bobby Portis. There's nothing here outside of Giannis or Dame. And the Miami side is basically just where. This might be my least favorite game. We'll see what happens when I get to Dallas OKC, but I think Miami Milwaukee is my least favorite game on the slate. Speaking of Dallas and OKC, we've got the Mavs, 13-point dogs in Oklahoma City, 220 total. Both of these teams played yesterday. We have no idea whatsoever who is playing for either one of these teams. Klay Thompson didn't play for Dallas yesterday. Najee Marshall didn't play for Dallas yesterday. OKC was without Isaiah Joe. I've got everybody in right now for Dallas. And no one is projected for 10% ownership. No one got to 10% optimal for me. I'm kind of looking at it like I won't have much. Obviously, terrible spot too for Dallas. They've got to go into OKC and run up against a completely awful matchup. Like, it's just, I have no idea who's going to play for Dallas. Could we create some value if some of these guys end up in or out? Maybe. But if they're all in, I don't anticipate going to anything from Dallas. Now, if we lose Klay Thompson again and we lose Najee Marshall again, we're probably going to go back to Omax Prosper for a little bit of value. Gafford will certainly be on the table, but my expectation is having very, very little of Dallas. Now, on the OKC side, Jalen Williams without the Y was questionable yesterday. Maybe he sits today. Isaiah Joe missed yesterday. Maybe he sits today. We're getting 10% ownership to Shea, 10% ownership to Jalen Williams, 10% to Dort. If you can get to anybody, to me, it's Shea. Point guard only, 10,500. Seems reasonable. Didn't really get to him. Don't think that these guys look all that appealing. Pace down spot for Oklahoma City. They lose 1.8 possessions below their average. I'm just not seeing it here. I don't think any bit of this. Dallas OKC is just as bad as Miami and Milwaukee for me. I truly just don't see the appeal. I didn't get a single share of anybody from OKC, but like would I like to get some Shea? Yeah, of course. But as we look at pay-ups for today, we've got Jokic at 12-2. We've got Giannis at 11-7. AD on the slate. Shea on the slate. LeBron on the slate. Sabonis is 10K. You've got Tatum, Trey, Harden. There's a lot to pay up for. I don't think I'm going to be paying up for OKC and Shea too much. But don't get me wrong, dude's awesome. We need their injury report, and we need the Dallas injury report. Because imagine, like, if Jalen Williams is out, maybe he sits the second half of this back-to-back, that's going to bump Shea even more. We need to keep an eye. Sacramento and Denver. Kings on the back-to-back, so we don't have their injury report. Sacramento 7.5-point underdogs in Denver, 240 total. This is the highest total of the slate. Now, obviously, we don't know who's going to be in for Sacramento. However, we are projecting like staggering ownership to Malik Monk. That's not going to be there. He's not disproportionately owned. I don't expect to get much ownership to Sacramento. Probably something around 10% to everybody. Your 10% to Fox, Monk, Murray, Sabonis, DeRozan. Keegan Murray probably stands out the most to me, but nobody really stands out. I'm happy to get any piece of Sacramento here. I don't think they look very good. I do kind of think that they're too big of an underdog. Maybe that leads us to find out that someone's going to be out today or questionable. But I'm not all that interested in any specific guy for Sacramento. I did get a bunch of Keegan Murray. That wouldn't hold by the end of the day. And if you can see the screen, while Malik Monk is a good play today, he won't be 37% owned. He won't even be close to that. Hey, Lee Price, by the way, you didn't get J-Dub out last night? He played the whole game. Whole damn game. So I don't know why that SGA ceiling performance was so obvious, but I guess it would be pretty obvious if you think someone didn't play in the game even though they did. But so obvious. So obvious. Denver Nuggies. Full strength. Not much to write home about with Denver right now. This is just their team. Unless you're big Vlatko Chanchar guys. Might be back? Guess we're back. We won't have these problems starting tomorrow. This is annoying me now, too. Congrats on getting that hit, Lee. Congrats on the hit based on completely incorrect information. Attaboy. Attaboy. Highest owned guy right now is Russell Westbrook. We're still getting 10% ownership to Murray. Porter Jr. and Brown are getting a little bit of love. I like Russ a lot here at 6,200. The minutes that he's played over these past 5 games are not reflective of what I expect him to play if it's close. I think Jamal Murray looks really good here at 7,200. To me, under-owned. Jokic is a tough sell for me at 12-2. Just a little bit, given the other pay-up options we have, the little high. MPJ and Christian Brown both look fine. I think you could get a little bit of Julian Strother if you want to. But I like this Denver side. It's hard not to. I mean, I never have much of a problem getting anybody against Sacramento. It is a slight pace down spot for Denver, but nothing that I'm super worried about. If I'm ranking the Denver Nuggets, because there's not too many teams we've been able to like legit talk about so far. It would be Russell Westbrook, Jamal Murray, Jokic, Porter, Brown, Strother, Gordon. But yeah, I don't expect Jokic to be my primary pay up. Unfortunately, though, I think I'm going to get to a little bit more Russell Westbrook than I would like to. Just out of curiosity, how much has his salary dropped over the past week or so? It's got to be a little bit. All right, Westbrook. Yeah, so Westbrook's down to 6,200. He was 7,100 3 games ago. But because the minutes have been down slightly, it looks a little different. I like Russ tonight. He's too cheap. He's too cheap. You won't hear that a lot. You will not hear that a lot. Let's go to game number 6. Chicago Bulls, Golden State Warriors. Pretty much impossible to talk about the Warriors side of this one, but we can touch on Chicago. Bulls have a Q tag on Ayo Dosunmu and a Q tag on Kobe White. They're both obviously incredibly important questionable tags that affect the rest of the team. Whether one or two of those guys are in or out, they affect Giddey, they affect Levine, they affect Lonzo, they affect bench guys. We're getting 15% ownership to Kobe White, 10 to Lonzo Ball. I think Zach LaVine looks the best. But until we get any sort of news on these Q tags, if everybody's in, I don't think Chicago looks great. Nobody prioritizes. Optimal rates don't look all that good. So, hard for me to say. If one of those guys is ruled out, then we'll like Chicago a little bit more. But this is still a pretty big pace down spot against the Warriors. But I would say I like Levine and Giddey the most, and that's independent of the Q tags. And both of those guys would look better if either or both of White or Dosunmu are out. Now, the Golden State side is basically impossible to talk about. Other than all I can say is you're probably going to be getting the bulk of your ownership to Golden State today. Pace up spot, great total. Warriors gain 2 possessions. I have no idea who's going to be available here. Looney left yesterday's game early with an illness. We haven't had Kuminga and Draymond are not playing. Podziemski allegedly could be playing, so I projected him in. Kyle Anderson, in theory, could be back. I didn't project Steph in. Steph hasn't played a back-to-back in ages. And if that's the case for what we have here, we're looking at like 50% ownership to Wiggins, like 50% ownership to Buddy Hield, 20 plus to Schroeder. Gary Payton is going to get a bunch of love at 3,200. Moses Moody will likely get some love. Depending on the status of Kevon Looney, like Trace Jackson Davis will look better. Quentin Post might actually be rosterable. We need to know who's even going to be around for the Warriors. But the biggest piece here will be, assuming Steph Curry sits on the back-to-back, we're going to have a lot of ownership going to the Golden State Warriors. That should be the main takeaway here. And remember, we have crazy late swaps today. 7 o'clock start, 2 7:30s, an 8, a 9, 2 10s, and a 10:30. So we need to keep our eye on Golden State. They will be the most important team. We just don't know why they'll be the most important team. We don't know who will cause it. All right, schedule for the rest of the day. Thank you guys for stopping by on Playback last night. I hope you guys, I don't know who won all of the League Pass accounts, but somebody did. NHL Strategy Show today, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be back with Chris Spags at 5 o'clock for the NBA Deeper Dive. Eric and Bellman will be on Live Before Lock tonight at 6. And then Greg and myself will be on Playback tonight at 7 o'clock. We'll be on from 7 till 8. We'll be able to talk about ownership and swaps before the 7:30 games. And at that point, we should be talking ownership and swaps before Dallas and OKC. Game number 7, the Boston Celtics on a back-to-back, 5-point favorites in LA, taking on the Lakers. This is the slowest game on the slate by a lot for me, and the third lowest total of the day. We do not know who is available for Boston. They're on a back-to-back. Yesterday, we had no Jaylen Brown. Sorry, I don't know why I said it like that. Yesterday, we had no Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis, and Drew Holiday. It's possible we don't have Jaylen Brown today. We also don't know the status of the other three guys that missed. I have everybody in right now. If everybody's in, we're not paying attention to Boston. Grizzly, if you think that Steph Curry is out of shape, please give up watching basketball forever. Just give it up. Just give it up. I can't even imagine typing those words. Just give up. Look, if we're missing three guys from Boston again today, then we can probably find some value in Pritchard or Hauser or whoever's left. But we don't know who's playing. It's not even close. It's just a complete blur. We've had Porzingis and Horford miss 2 out of the last 3. Drew missing this most recent game. Maybe you get those guys in and other guys out. So this one's going to be all over the place today. We need the news. What we're not waiting on is news for the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron probable, AD probable. No ownership. 3% to LeBron, 2% to AD, 2% to Max Christie. There's just absolutely nothing coming in here to the Lakers. And I don't even see it. I had LeBron 5% optimal, AD 5% optimal. You need 60 fantasy points out of these guys. Neither one of them look like a premier pay-up. However, if Boston ends up being without Kristaps Porzingis again, without Al Horford again, without one of the other guys as well, then I think AD and LeBron are going to look a lot better. This line will look a lot easier, and I will have a lot less problem paying up for them. I could see LeBron and AD looking like really interesting late swap pieces. If they're going to be unowned, I expect to get 15% of both of them as I'm moving through my swaps and trying to improve lineups. So that's the interesting way to get to the Lakers for me today. That's about it, though. One last thing we need to talk about before the final game is the promo code BINK. B-I-N-K. Link in the description. 20% off any single sport package. This deal runs till Sunday. So if you want the NBA package and get projections, ownership, Sims tools, premium Discord, and more, you can get it all for 20% off using the promo code BINK. Click the link in the description of this video. We had another Millie winner on the NFL side. It's our 4th of the year. And every time we get one of these Millie winners and we show that lovely Stokastic avatar at the top of the contest, we want to pay it back to you guys. So that's why we're running this deal right now. Shout out to the guy that won this past weekend. It's awesome to see. Maybe we'll get another one this weekend and we'll run another promo. But you guys can get in for this one right now by clicking that link. Final game of the day, guys. Hard to talk about this slate. Washington Wizards, LA Clippers. We do have the Wizards injury report. We do not have the Clippers injury report. No ownership coming into Washington. They are currently 13.5-point dogs in LA, 223 total. Most owned guy is 8% to Alex Sarr. I didn't have anybody looking all that interesting. You're basically everybody from 7 to 10% optimal. And depending on who's in for the Clippers, this might be a terrible spot for the Wizards. Or maybe it ends up looking a little bit better if 2/3 of the team ends up not playing. But for right now, even in a late game, we're not prioritizing all that much of the Washington Wizards. For the Clippers, who the hell knows? Honestly, do we know if Zubats is playing? Because Zubats yesterday was just like properly out. He's missed the last 2. So we don't know if Zoo is back. Harden missed yesterday. Norm Powell missed yesterday. Kawhi missed yesterday. Kawhi has missed the last two, by the way. The back end of a back-to-back and then the front end of a back-to-back. They're playing 4 games in 5 days. Batum missed yesterday. Chris Dunn missed yesterday. I don't have a clue who's playing for the Clippers today. If everybody's just in, no one looks that good. And you're only playing one of 3 guys. Powell, Harden, or Zoo. But if Zoo is out, maybe we're playing Mo Bamba. Bamba played 17 minutes yesterday, so maybe we're not. They obviously went to OT, crazy minutes. They basically just played 5 guys as much as they could. Amir Coffey, Terrence Mann, Derek Jones, KPJ, and Kobe Brown. Kobe Brown played 38 minutes yesterday. 38 minutes. I don't think anybody had that one projected. Somehow only 26 fantasy points, which is dreadful. Clearly, we need the injury report here. Slim, no, they're not. But do me a favor, Slim. Please stop using either DraftKings or FanDuel for injury news. We have no injury report. Nobody is officially anything today for the LA Clippers. We got nothing. So we need this news. My assumption is Powell is playing. My assumption is James Harden is playing. Zubats, I think, is legitimately up in the air. I think that one, he might just be legitimately still hurt. But we're going to need this news, and we're probably not going to get this Clippers news until 3:30. So deeper dive today at 5. Going to be massive. How many injuries? What did I say we had today? That's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are waiting on 8 injury reports. There are only 16 teams on this slate. So half of the league, we don't know what they're doing. When you guys get to the deeper dive at 5 o'clock, we are going to have a wealth of additional information for you guys. So I'm cutting this one short. I don't have anything to add because it's basically just an impossible slate to talk about to start the day. Tomorrow, only 3 games. We're going to build some lineups tomorrow. So get ready. We're going to use the sim tools, take some questions. We'll build full sim lineups. We'll build single lineup sim stuff because only a 3-game slate tomorrow. We're going to have a lot to talk about. I want you guys to make sure you know what you're buying when you use that promo code BINK. Good luck, everybody. I will talk to you later.